News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbreth, darkoakmedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian. And not only do I want to wish you all a very happy International Karaoke Day, but I also want to wish you a wonderful start to National Moth Week.
Well, I'm glad to hear our Lepidopteran friends are being honored.
Oh my gosh, we're in for an epic celebration.
I have a throwdown, a little challenge to the audience.
Okay.
In honor of something musical, I forget if we discussed this before, but I'll throw it down anyways. What's your go-to hype-up music to listen to while you're working?
Oh, that's very good. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got something. Max, it's so weird that you said that. Because that's a pretty good one. Karaoke Day at National Moth Day.
Week. This is the start of the week.
Okay, because I know Allan loves moths. I like those little guys. You have no mercy on the moths. So.
This ends on the 27th, so we can get some mileage out of this.
Okay.
I once did a whole week on the Nation of Jake where I extolled a moth per day.
Okay. Well, Max, it's funny you said that because literally, I'm looking here on my notes. I mean, it's right here on my paper. I was listening literally yesterday to one of my favorite songs by the Smiths, and it led me to a revelation about our homes, Allan, believe it or not. Wait till you see this connection. So
I'm waiting to see this leap of intellect.
Okay. And Allan's Week in Review, it's another one of the I just labeled this interior and exterior remodeling because these are pretty cool projects you were working on.
Yep, I had a lot of fun this week.
Okay, all right, perfect. So I think those are good. And Max, you stopped by my house, and you were sort of, stunned and horrified about a new addition that we had because you had to use the bathroom when you were over there.
I have very caustic opinions about this particular item.
And Max felt very strongly about this, and so we'll bring this up. Allan, you haven't seen this because you haven't been to my house in a while, but we have a bidet in our house now.
Oh,
my wife insisted, so
you're going to crank out the old going Japanese music?
Yeah. So we're calling this the Great Bidet Debate. I honestly don't have a dog in this fight. I don't really care. She wanted one, and I said, okay, fine. So I put it in. So.
Well, Max, I'm going to look at you and say, no matter what the debate is, you're about to lose.
Okay. All right. Well, and then in our continued Memphis-centric spotlight in great moments in building history, we're going to talk about the Commercial Appeal building, which I would guess every one of us have driven by a million times. And I was mostly interested in it. Allan, for one thing, I didn't know this place was as old as it was.
Oh, it's been here. It's been here a minute.
Close to a century.
Yeah, it's post World War I.
Okay, Max, you were interested in this building too, I thought.
It was mostly because I'm driving by it like on a regular, and it's just this big, empty, abandoned building, and it's like, well, what did this look like in its heyday when there were actually people frequenting it?
Yeah, I'm mostly interested in printing press technology. I'm curious what that's like on a grand scale and what it's like to design something and service a building like that and everything.
Probably doesn't vent as pleasantly as the Wonder Bread factory.
Yeah. So
well, bizarrely, the massive presses actually generated a wind of almost 20 miles an hour.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There was a breeze.
I believe
there was a breeze in that place.
So you didn't get a waft of bread, you got a cool breeze.
You did.
Allan, we definitely don't. Max, don't let us get out of here before we talk about Allan's hack. He had another hack this week that I'm definitely stealing, and I'm kicking myself that it never even occurred to me to use this one. So, and if there's time, the last thing I'm going to tease is we're workshopping a new segment for Tool Talk, and it's called the Cosmic Homeowner. Now, we're not getting all new agey or anything. This is just more about recognizing our place in the galaxy and how that knowledge could make you a better homeowner.
We're getting old agey, not new agey.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, there's a lot, and I didn't even read all the notes here because what's the point? We're not going to get to them all. So, but before we get to any of those things, let's get to our must-have item of the week that Allan brought in. And once again, I scoffed, I laughed, and then after when you handed it to me, and then after I thought about it for about 20 seconds. I'm like, I don't even know if I could live without these things.
So you would cease to exist.
All right, I'm trying to make a noise with it here. It doesn't really-
You are holding a standard, good old-fashioned 1-inch binder clip.
I mean, do they even sell these at the big box store? I always get mine from like the office supply store.
Somebody carries some kind of binder clip somewhere.
Now, this looks like the 1.5 inches, if I'm correct, and they come in all sizes. Some of them can hold, wood. They can. This one is meant to bind paper, but okay. These things do have some serious grip action to them. Almost too much. If you're binding something that you don't want dented, don't use these because they will leave their mark.
Well, when you asked me last night about this, and I'm sitting here and I honestly just reached in my shirt pocket and pulled out the binder clip and went, let's see. I've soldered wires with you this week. I've repaired 2 metal straps with you this week. You have held something so I could see the diagram at least half a dozen times.
Yeah.
I've screwed you to at least 3 walls.
Right.
So that you could hold something in place for me. So I'm just kind of like, this is gotta be probably the cheapest thing ever. Because you get like a bag of these things for like $1.50, right?
I wonder if we got to describe this. If you go to the paper clip aisle, these will be in the same aisle, but these are like these
the
things
black
really
triangles.
It's a black triangle with 2 little handles that you can move around, but the gripping on these is even the little small ones. I have these little, like, I don't even know, they're probably like 1/2 inch, and do they grip. They can grip whatever you need. I use these all the time at the convention, man. These hold up posters, they hold up, but I've used them to hold up plywood and things like that. So, no, they're great, man. And because one of the things I use these for too, Allan, is like when you're on a work site and you want to put plastic up to kind of separate one room from another, so you're not getting dust everywhere in the whole house. These are great for a temporary plastic dwelling, you could say. So.
Well, in the keeping dust down category, I have been known to take an entire case of those, screw them into the wall across the top of the opening, and that way, as the plastic wears out, I just unclip it and clip in a new piece of plastic.
Yeah.
If we're going to be, going in and out of this thing a lot for, a period of time, so you don't want the dust getting everywhere. I'm trying to think of when haven't I used a binder clip on a job site.
No, they're pretty awesome, man. I got to give you credit. So, folks, go to the Facebook page. Go to @Tool Talk Radio over on Facebook, and you'll see this incredible binder clip. But it's true. I mean, sometimes you can't overlook the obvious. Sometimes when we do our must-have item of the week. So, all right. Well, that one's pretty straightforward too and easy to explain. But Allan, I want to shift gears a second, and I didn't tease this at the show, but I guess in my notes here, I'm calling this generational home design. And so I'm driving in. So as I've probably mentioned, folks, my neighborhood was built. The majority of the homes were built pretty much in the late 40s and the 1950s.
Yeah, you are a baby boomer house.
This is a World War II neighborhood. These people came home from the war.
Yep.
They built, just like you saw on It's a Wonderful Life. Honestly, there's a lot of parts of my neighborhood that looked like that. The pot, George Bailey's, whatever that, Bailey Park, all that,
It is what we began to think of. You honestly live in ground central of what we would consider standard surbia.
Yeah. And nice little houses. I mean, these are probably three.
It's a cute little house.
Whatever.
It's got a backyard for the dog. It's got a little front yard for the kids. You got a sidewalk. You got a street.
Right. Well, I couldn't help but observe as I'm driving through my neighborhood this morning that, okay, what set me off, Allan, is there is one house and they have a massive tree in front of their house, and half of this thing fell off about a week or two ago because it just died. You can see it. It's decayed. And this thing is 15 feet from the house.
Right.
Well, as I'm looking, I'm like, okay, at least every other house, or just about every house, has a massive tree within 20 feet of their house. And a lot of times these trees are also, you can tell they're probably growing into the water lines that's going. And I'm like, this was not a good idea to plant a tree right
10
next to
feet
your
from
house.
the house.
But everybody did it back then.
Well, they came 10 feet from the house, and they went and they centered it right in the dead center of the front yard.
Yep.
And they put bushes that were totally inappropriate to put that close to the house because of how woody the roots were.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Frank Lloyd Wright that talked about he designed his neighborhoods for 40 years from now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But
landscape architects have to do that.
Well, poor Memphis Light, Gas, and Water has literally gone open season on the 60s and 70s.
Well, we're going to talk about that because every generation we do these blunders. I hate to say it, and I keep wondering, do we do it just because everybody else is doing it? So we're going to talk about don't succumb to peer pressure when it comes to your home design. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
There's an exposed wire above the bathtub as well.
Oh, yeah, shock wire. I call it that because if you take a shower and you touch the wire, you die.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just waking up and just tuning in, you should know that today is National Karaoke Day, but maybe more importantly, this is the beginning of National Moth Week, right, Max?
And it's International Karaoke Day.
Okay, well, whatever. That's fine. So I can't say I've had a lot of positive karaoke experiences, Allan. I'm not a fan, but
mine is still more of the throwdown challenge of your go-to song to hype you up while you're working.
Okay, all right, but
in honor of National Moth Week, I'd like to kind of talk about a different moth during the show.
Okay,
and let's start off with a segment that I like to call Cannibalism in the Cocoon.
You like to call it that, huh, Max?
It's
okay.
Let's go to the Mediterranean where their heterogeneous Pinella species of moths dwells, where they eat their own mothers as soon as they hatch. They get a nice rich meal, rich in fat before they start their lives alone, because the thing about the females is they start their lives with a little bit of a handicap.
Yeah.
I.e., they don't have any wings or legs.
Max, you are, I don't know, man. The things you gravitate towards. So that, Allan, this sounds like a monster movie, but nature can be that way sometimes.
Well, I just look at him and I go, Max is one of those reasons why you refer to moths as just goth butterflies.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, if you're talking about horror movies, if you'd like me to continue with one more species,
okay,
let's go to Madagascar, where there's the Hemiceratoids hieroglyphica, which sucks the tears from underneath the eyelids of birds while they sleep.
Okay, now that's not the worst thing, because if the tears are outside their eyes, they don't need them anymore, right? I mean, so may as well get some use out of that.
And they're shaped like a harpoon, so they're very opportunistic.
That's not as bad as the one eating its mother. So
I mean, there are moths that do suck blood.
I don't know, man. I've always liked moths, and they're one of the few insects I don't mind picking up. Like they let you kind of hold them,
Well, that's because you live in an area where they're safe.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, they're not about to get poisoned or squished by me or anything. So, but all right, Max, these are actually pretty interesting. So,
the antics will continue.
Okay, good. And by the way, if you are a karaoke enthusiast, I mean, I'd be curious about that, because Allan, I don't know, man. I can't say it's one of the best cultural experiences I've ever had. Karaoke does nothing for me. I've rarely heard anybody good singing. Have you?
Yeah, no, I'm not a karaoke fan.
But before the break, we were talking about and we're calling this generational home design, and I was observing that in my neighborhood in the 1950s that basically every home has a tree somewhere, either right in their front yard or right in their backyard, that they planted way too close to the house, and now these things are aging out, And I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a crisis in my neighborhood fairly soon because these are massive trees. These could easily crush the house.
Yep.
Well,
And
why did we do that? Why did everybody in the neighborhood think it was the best idea to plant a tree right next to your house? So
because when you were standing at the nursery and that little 10-foot tree doesn't look like it's going to kill you.
yeah.
But it's so cute. And then, I'm going to pick on my favorite one that just absolutely I hate with a passion that is absolutely everywhere. In the 70s, we got our hands on the Ceylon pear, better known as the Bradford pear.
That's that invasive species.
And we planted it someplace where it grows way too fast, so it's very brittle. It stinks to goodness and heaven when it blooms. Now, when it blooms, I will give it this. These are those trees that turn totally white early in the spring. They are absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Unless you're standing next to it and it smells like old fish.
Right.
And they are also now these were just planted in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And they are aging out and they are broken. I have seen, without exaggerating, in the last 2 weeks, I have seen over 20 of these things split in half.
They're brittle, yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Huge limbs coming down. So, yeah, we make these generalizations based on, whatever the contractor's trying to sell. And your neighborhood was the white picket fence.
Yeah.
You're back. Yay. Here's your fenced-in backyard for your dog. And here's your gargantuan tree right here in the middle of the yard, usually planted, heaven help us, right over the drain going to the sewer.
Yeah.
Which may or may not be either steel or clay.
Yep.
So it's absolutely at this point guaranteed to have been invaded by tree roots.
Exactly. So that's just one example. That's I'd call that the late 40s, early or 1950s home. So the neighborhood is now going to be in a at some point, you could call it a tree crisis. Well, it's funny, too, because you look at homes, you look at neighborhoods where the homes were built in the 1970s, let's say, or the 70s and early 80s. What I find there, Allan, is, there's a lot of siding with MDF, right? So you're seeing the buckling. Yes. But there was also this trend of, I don't think that they use the best trim work on the windows. And then to compound the sin, there's all of these irrigation systems. I can't tell you how many homes in these neighborhoods have, the water is hitting the house every day.
Yes.
So the trim never gets a chance to dry. It swells, it splits. Now you have breaches in your trim work and your siding's rotting. And the whole neighborhood is going through that.
Yes.
So
that's house after
that's a
house
70s
after
neighborhood,
house, yes.
Right. So that's another one of these where it's like, we got to have an irrigation system. We're saving money on the trim because, of course they didn't have, the nylon trim or anything, but.
Well, exactly. And they didn't use pressure treated wood in a lot of those windows.
Right.
The less expensive windows, AKA a contractor grade window, was probably not pressure treated on the exterior. So you just have basically untreated wood with a coat of paint on it.
Right.
Yeah, and you're hoping that's going to hold up. And, 30, I hate to say it, but you get 20, 30, 40 years down the line, this stuff only lasts so long. Another trend that you will find in 50s through 70s houses is there's a lot of bathroom remodels going on because that tile is over sheetrock.
Oh, right. And you're getting
that
mold
sheetrock
and everything.
only lasts so long under that kind of weight.
And there were a lot of bathrooms back then that are shoehorned into basically almost the space of a closet. And there's no ventilation.
Yeah.
You get a lot of, mildew. And
Now, I have to ask, what is the possible logic or illogic behind using tiling under sheetrock, above sheetrock?
Well, it's what we had.
Fast.
That's what we had. I mean,
Well, it didn't occur to them to have backer board. A lot of these developments, Max, I think happened because of what failed,
Well, and we learn from the past, we hope.
Yeah.
But even in modern subdivisions, you go in and you can tell where they just bulldozed everything.
Mm-hmm.
So now the soil is not as dense as it was.
Right.
Because it's been disturbed.
Yeah.
And in certain neighborhoods that are now 20-something years old, you're starting to see the soil slipping one way or the other. I've got one client that we're having to put in water mediation efforts on a 25-year-old home because the yards have changed in 25 years.
Right.
That tree is now bigger and now shades this area so the grass doesn't grow like it used to. And the slope has gotten a little worse. And what we planted where and when, it's now 10, 15, 20 years later. And stuff changes.
Yeah, homes have to be built with a long term in mind. I'm just thinking. I mean, I'm sorry. There's a lot of trends today. I'm looking at them and I'm like, we're gonna in 30 years, we're gonna look back and want to fix these or get rid of.
We're gonna regret a lot of it.
I think homes today are a little too stark. I also think they're way too big. There's so many people's. I go to their homes and there's 4 or 5 rooms they don't even use ever.
Right.
They're like, we only use this when our family comes to visit once a year. I'm like, well, why are you paying for all the space you don't need? Yeah, it's like so. But anyway, we'll have a few parting thoughts about that, and then we're going to find out what Allan did this week. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
You're making a plan while I'm being a man, just winging it.
News Talk 98.9. The Roar of Memphis.
That's the anthem of 70s contractors.
There you go. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And today is National Karaoke Day. And Max, you always sing the Aquabats when you get up for karaoke, right? I mean,
exactly. That or Highway to the Danger Zone.
Okay. But this is also the beginning of a week-long celebration of National Moth Week. And we're learning a little bit about these. Do you have any friendly moths, Max? The ones you've been naming they're all from a monster movie, man. But
then I have one that's friendly and I have one that's egalitarian.
Okay, what?
So here's one that you'd appreciate that you've encountered on your journeys. Yeah. This is known as the climbing moth, otherwise known as the blessing moth or crucifix moth.
Okay, but is this the one that looks like the Star Trek insignia?
The very same.
Yeah, folks, if you because I've seen them here in the Mid-South, they're bright yellow with a black band around them, and then they have a cross. Although to me, the cross looks up. It's either centered or upside down or something, but it looks exactly like the Star Trek insignia. Like if you could put this thing on your lapel, you'd look like you're ready to beam up. So
exactly. Okay. And here's the egalitarian moth, or the depressed moth, I would say. Well, there's a female known as the bagworm moth, and the way that she takes out her lack of limbs is not eating her mother, is in the craving of death. The bagworm moth, after mating, it makes a proper cocoon and pokes its head outside, hoping to attract the attention of a bird. That way, the bird can eat it, and that way, her eggs could be dispersed.
Now, how do we know that, Allan? Okay, now we're getting into full moth psychosis and psychology.
This reminds me of that episode of Futurama.
This is a little much.
This reminds me of that episode of Futurama where there's like this mutant bird, and they say, "Oh no, they crave death." Yeah,
I don't know, Max. Okay, we might have to cut you off from the. You're not allowed on the internet anymore, man. But, all right. Well, we have a few. Okay, we're shifting gears back to home improvement here. In a minute, we're gonna find out what Allan did. We had a couple parting thoughts about generational home design, but before we do that, we want to talk about our good friends over at Groundworks, because Groundworks deals with the fundamental health of your home when it comes to your foundation. You have to have a solid foundation of your home, or everything else is sort of secondary. I mean, well, let's face it. Without a healthy foundation, you don't have a healthy home. You may have a basement or a crawl space or a slab, or maybe a combination of all of those. And if they're not healthy or if they're dysfunctional, they need to be addressed. Foundation problems never get better with age. And also, if foundation problems may manifest themselves in unusual ways. You may have weird, musty smells in a part of your home. You may have that squeaking floor that is unusual. You may have little places where ants congregate, or stair-step cracks above your doors and windows. So if you have any of these, it's a good idea to call Groundworks. For one thing, they have a comprehensive free inspection. They're going to bring out their detecting equipment, and they're going to examine, for example, your crawl space, and they're going to find out all sorts of information about what's going on down there, and then they're going to present it to you, and you will hopefully you'll have a clean bill of health, with your foundation. But if not, they can help you with any of the problems from small to large. And the best thing is this inspection is free. So really it behooves you to call Groundworks, and just even if nothing else, for the peace of mind of knowing that your foundation is protected. So get in touch with our friends at Groundworks. It's very simple. Just go to groundworks.com and book your free inspection today. Hey, Allan, I just had a couple parting thoughts, though. We were talking about generational home design, and we were noting that if you go to some neighborhoods, because typically what you find is a neighborhood was built together. Usually there's a developer. Maybe they come in and they build a couple hundred or 300 or 400 homes, and generally they're built with the same materials, with the same architectural designs, all that, which means in 40 years, they're going to all have the same problems. And I was noting that back in the 50s, we had problems with trees being too close to the home. You know what, though? The house themselves, these houses themselves are pretty solid. Right. They just put the trees too close. But then in some generations, they built them out of faulty materials, and then everybody was having the same problems. I would just say, for my 2 cents of looking at the world today in terms of home design, like I said, I just feel like the homes are a little too big where you're not if you don't use the whole home, why do you own it? You know what I mean? It just seems like a waste of money to me. And I think they're a little stark. I think they're lacking some interest. I think they're a little charmless today. I'm sorry, I just have to say it.
Personally, I don't have one currently, but I would probably build a good old-fashioned Bonanza-style ranch with a big front porch.
So you like the one story?
Oh yeah, one story only.
Especially here. Why do you want to have
one
a
story
hot
only?
second story?
Don't. I've lived in this. Yeah, not a big fan of the stairs.
Right.
I like one story homes, but I do have to go with, kind of figure out what you need or what you don't need, because honestly, most of the people I know need about a 1,500 square foot house and a walkway to their 3,000 square foot warehouse.
There you go.
That would be pretty much everybody I know.
Well, all these guys that have the 15-foot skeletons for their Halloween decorations.
They go crazy for this stuff. Our buddy Brandon.
Yeah.
If anybody ever needed a 5,000 square foot warehouse,
right,
it
for
was
all his
him.
monster stuff.
Yeah.
So, well, it's just a thought, and it's just something to think about of like building. Maybe not building with tunnel vision and having a thought as to what this is going to look like in 40 or 50 years. So just like I said, I thought it was an observation, and it's on the table, folks. If you've got thoughts about that, you can get in touch as well. So, but we're going to move on. Go ahead, Max.
Oh, the humanity.
You may have to update your intro, because Allan, lately, I'm sorry, in Allan's Week in Review, it's been pretty, we started that little gag because you used to get the 2 o'clock in the morning calls about somebody's pipe bursting and all these nightmare projects. But lately, your projects have been pretty good, man. Pretty positive.
Well, we're going to go back to the nightmare right now.
Been waiting for this.
Yeah, okay, so it's back.
So, here comes the call of a lovely little community, and 2 of their cottages are swimming. Every single time it rains.
Oh, drainage?
Water. Honestly, I walked in one of them, and water was coming in a bedroom and making it all the way to the center of we'll call it the great room.
Coming in from above or below?
Coming in from below.
Oh, that's even more menacing.
So here we go. Of whoever designed the gutter system on these cottages, really, really, you need to lay off of whatever your recreational substance is. Because, oh my gosh, and Joe, and I'm not kidding when I say this. All right, so the cottage is a U-shaped cottage. So you got a room on the right and room on the left, basically a bedroom on the right and a bedroom on the left. And then you have kind of your main living area.
Like a horseshoe.
Towards the back. It's kind of a horseshoe.
Okay.
So you have this cute little walkway with the little bushes and the sidewalk that takes you to your front door. Yeah, it's cute. You know, when you look at this and you kind of go, it's kind of got that cute cottage thing going on.
It reminds me of those bungalows they have in California.
Exactly.
They're very cool. They're charming. And instead of apartments, you're actually having your own separate.
Right, where you kind of got your own little cottage and bungalow there. All right. However, off of the roof of both of the bedrooms, which create a little bit of a walkway, and then you kind of opens up into a little courtyard, and you got your front door. Coming down at the corner of each one of these was a gutter chute.
Oh, yeah. You told the battling gutter chutes. Yeah.
With no caps.
Yeah.
Just aiming water across the way at each other. And I didn't actually see it in the rain, but I just walked up and I went, what is this, like Water Fight Central? You couldn't even get to the door without being fire hosed. And the cute little courtyard had 40 years of mulch in it.
Okay, and we know your mulch feelings because the pot.
Oh my gosh! Here we start digging, trying to get below the stuff. You know, there's a stucco line, and then there's the concrete line where the dirt should end. Oh well, we're like 8 inches. Honestly, we're like 8 inches from that.
Yeah.
So we're in there digging and trenching and digging, and of course, we've planted plants that are too big to go in here. Mm-hmm. So we are honestly cutting out, and we cut out a tree root out of the drain that was 3.5 inches around.
Well, you mentioned this before. I mean, so is this phase 2 of
this
that?
This was phase 2 because we went in and we trenched all the way around this courtyard and re-rocked it all in. And got it rocked in good. And, of course, it just rained.
Yeah. It's been raining a lot. I mean, we've had a rainy
and of
summer.
course, the nice little person that lives in this cottage had to call me to tell me it was bucketing down rain, and she didn't care.
Yeah.
She was happy, and she was dry.
Because it was finally going where it was
Whatever
supposed to
we
go.
did, and she was honestly like, all right, I don't know exactly what you guys did, but this was just awesome because I'm not drowning in my own cottage.
Well, that's a good point, too. The peace of mind. I mean, think of that. That person probably stressed out every time it rained.
Oh, yeah.
And now you're eliminating that stress. So, all right, well, we're going to find out more about what Allan did when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Well done. In fact, you did so well, I'm going to note this on your file in the commendation section. Oh, there's lots of room here. Did well. Enough.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And there's a lot to recap, and I don't know if we want to let Max on the internet anymore. Today's karaoke day, which nobody seems to care about, which is fine with me. I think, though, as I recall, Tim Van Horn is a karaoke enthusiast.
Maybe he would be.
It makes sense. I mean, he's Mr. Dad. He's Mr. I could see him on his family vacation doing the karaoke thing with his wife and everything. So, but Tim's a good dude. I won't hold that against him. But more importantly, it's the beginning of a week-long celebration of National Moth Week, and Max is really enjoying telling us all about the horrifying lives of these moths. I always liked moths. I thought they were kind of cool and friendly, and you can pick them up, and they're nice. But Max is telling us all the the horrible.
Well, he's just
street
advocating.
level,
Well, he's advocating so that for next year, the Discovery Channel, instead of Shark Week,
Yeah.
can do Moth Week. You know,
It better be R-rated, though. I mean, it sounds nightmare fuel.
Cannibalism, suicide, but this one's a lot more pleasant.
All right.
It's called the mandolin moth.
Yeah.
Because they have these little thing on their hind wings that allow them to play a little tune.
Okay, there you go. That's the kind of moths I want to see. So, can you train them to play the music you want?
No,
I'd like to.
You
see
don't know that, Allan.
Yes, I do.
You haven't.
I'd like to see like a YouTube video of like a group of mandolin moths playing like the final countdown or whatever.
That's exactly. I mean, all things are possible. So, all right, that's a better moth. I like that one. And if you like moths, or maybe you have a weird fascination like Max does, let us know. We'd like to hear about it.
And my challenge still stands for International Karaoke Day. About what is your go-to hype-up song when you're working?
Okay. I mean, I could tell you some of mine, but we'll, whatever.
We already know yours, and
Alan,
it's going to involve the word goth.
We got a lot. We got a lot of stuff in your weekend review, so I almost feel like we because you did tell us you were successful with the drainage situation of these cottages.
It worked out so good. It worked out so good.
So, but
the other one was cautionary tale of replacing a bathroom floor, putting in. Do not skip the step, and I found out a lot of homeowners do this. They'll they'll put in new tile and all that kind of stuff, and the bathroom looks fabulous, but they don't seal the grout.
now, okay,
you got to seal the grout. Grout is
the
a
clear
permeable membrane, and there's all kinds of grout sealing products, but they are all there basically to make the grout not semi-permeable.
See, I always have this mixed feeling, and I'm not a tile expert by any means, Allan, but my experience with sealers is that if you try to go hardcore and say I'm going to put the thickest possible sealer there, what happens is moisture still finds a way in, and then it lifts it and separates it, and it pops out.
Right.
But you almost have to not fight it too much. Like you almost have to have, to me, a sealer that has a little bit of give to it. Am I wrong?
Well, the sealer I was using was actually absorbed by the grout, was a hardener to make the grout more durable.
So you're actually not putting, it's not just about putting...
I'm not putting a sealant on the floor.
A little thin coat over the grout. You're talking about changing the nature of the grout slightly. That makes more sense to me.
Yeah. And just, this is just one of those little tiny tips that will save you so much grief later on.
Okay, that kind of sealer makes a lot of sense. You remind me of Roman concrete, where the concrete is self-healing.
Exactly.
Okay, so so that's what I know we can't do name brands, but is this a
There's several different products out there, and the biggest thing I found, the easiest way to do this was with a little bitty art brush.
Oh, yeah.
Just one of those little small white art brushes, not any bigger around than your pinky.
Right.
And, I'm not worried about the tile. The tile's fine. Tile's baked and solid and beautiful. I'm worried about that grout.
Yeah.
And so just basically a little glass jar to hold my sealant, a little artist brush, and 10 minutes, with the knee pads on.
You're done.
And the floor looked fabulous. It got clean. We have since, mopped it several times, put a little mop and glow finish on it. I don't even know if that's still a product anymore, but you buy the stuff that makes it shine. And the floor just really popped and came to life. But you could literally feel the difference mopping the floor in the fact that water was waiting on you on the grout, not soaking into the grout.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
It's not passing through to your floor.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So, folks, when you seal your grout, I think that's a good advice. You're actually transforming the nature of that grout. So,
and it wasn't that big of a deal, but it's one of those things where does anybody still use the expression "a stitch in 9 saves 9"?
Probably,
a stitch in time, yeah.
I never really understood that. I sort of get the idea that it's about being
it's kind
efficient,
of like that one thread came loose, so you tightened it back up instead of waiting on it to fall apart.
Oh, okay. All right.
And our final big project was we built a deck.
Yeah, now the
That
deck.
was awesome.
Because that's what I call exterior remodeling. A deck is not necessary. You don't have to have a deck.
It was in this case because they built the cinder block frame for this house. They left an additional 6 feet on the back of it
to make sure
outside
you
the
have it.
house. Right. And so we went in there and just put in a small porch, and it was all done in 2x4 and 4x4. So basically, you could trap a lion in this thing. It is overbuilt.
Well,
It is amazingly overbuilt, but it is amazingly nice. So we got to spend a nice thunderstorm sitting on our cute little porch, going, "Hey, this is really nice. Need a cup of coffee."
there is something cool about sitting outside in the rain, like where you're not getting wet and you can just enjoy the storm. There is something nice about that. So,
And it's right off the back bedroom, so whoever moves into this place is going to have the perfect spot for a morning coffee.
Okay, Allan, I do want to. I teased this at the beginning, and I'm stealing this hack. Do we have time to say it? You had a really. It's a very straightforward hack, but I'm impressed, man. I want to do this.
Okay, so somebody had put in a floating floor, and of course it's been a while, and I guess they left the air off or something for an extended period of time because it bubbled up.
Yeah, because a floating floor, folks, just means that you put flooring down and you didn't glue it.
You didn't glue it,
Which
to
you can
anything
do, but
or
you
anything,
gotta-
but it's just kind of bubbled up. And they were kind of like, all right, what are we going to do with this? And I thought, well, all right, I can get in from the side. I can take a piece of baseboard off. And sure enough, that the floor floats. You lift it up. So I went and got me some clear water tubing.
In the plumbing section.
And went down to plumbing, got me some clear water tubing, and measured it out to about where I needed it to get in that spot. And
What, about a foot?
it was about 18 to 24 inches.
Okay.
And, basically just got myself my tube of construction adhesive. I clipped the tip kind of small so I could ram this tube over it. Slid the tube all the way down to where it needed to be and started pumping. And I ran a bead of adhesive underneath all that, all the way back to where I was. Went in with some, put down a piece of paper, put down some cinder blocks. And the next day, you know what? No more big bubble in the floor.
That's pretty smart, man, because, that tubing's dirt cheap, and you converted a 4-inch a 3 or 4 inch reach into a 2-foot reach.
Yep.
Pretty smart, man. That is a hack. I am the old water tube on the caulk gun.
It worked. Awesome.
Hack trick. So, all right, well, you guys, hour one. Speaking of hacks, hour one of Tool Talk Radio is in the can, but stay tuned. We have an action-packed second hour coming up.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we want to wish you a happy National Karaoke Day. And nobody seems all that interested in karaoke, but we've been incredibly interested in National Moth Week, which is the celebration begins today. I know Allan's going to go home and celebrate. You're going to gather all of your moth friends and find a way to, do something nice for them, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I like hummingbird moths and a few of them. They're kind of cool. So,
Well, I'd like to talk about the ultimate edgiest of moths. And yes, I know they've been overused, Allan. But
Okay.
I think we'd be behooved to not talk about the death's head hawk moth, the most famous moth in cinema history.
Death's head hawk moth.
You might know it best from Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, okay.
And what's interesting about the death's head hawk moth is that it gives a little sound, and it sounds like this. It's got a little squeak to it.
It's pretty loud for a moth.
Mm-hmm.
It's letting the birds know, hey, don't eat me.
Well, why would that? Okay, never mind. I don't know that I want to know that. Okay, nature's funny. These things that creatures do to protect themselves.
I'll also throw in hawk moths fly like hummingbirds.
Oh, really? They're
Yep.
fat. Their wings
They
fast?
hover in front of a flower.
Okay.
So the death's-head hawk moth is just one member of the family. They have everything from hummingbird hawk moths to elephant hawk moths.
Wow.
That one just has the cute little pattern that makes it kind of weird.
Okay.
The skull shape on its back.
Yep.
I guess we shouldn't underestimate moths because, I mean, they can't take out your whole wardrobe. They can pollinate. They're pretty interesting creatures.
They're a keystone species.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, we're going to shift gears, and I don't really know what to call this segment, Max, so I don't have any hotkeys for you to push. But you came to my house the other day, and you were I don't know if you were horrified, but you were extremely interested in a new addition to our bathroom. And well, my wife, I don't know, she's been on this kick lately, Allan. Like, for example, she bought this thing called a sauna blanket.
Okay.
It's like a portable sauna it's like a sleeping bag that's actually a sauna.
So like a Snuggie that like bakes you like an oven.
Yeah, it's like because she reads up on all these therapeutic benefits of things like that. It is good for your muscles.
Is your wife like an as seen on TV addict where it's like, oh, this has to work?
She's kind of getting that. No, but she does her research, Max, but she's kind of going down that road. But I will give her this. She's in really good shape and she takes care. But the last thing I want to do when it's 95 degrees out is get inside a sauna blanket and I mean, whatever. But so Allan, on that same
we
vein,
do that for a living, so it's not a hot idea for us.
Yeah, I've already gotten my heat.
Yeah, we've already been sweating for 6 hours.
Right. Well, Allan, so she wanted a bidet, and I guess we should explain. Now, a bidet, it's water shooting up in the toilet, let's just say, to rinse things off.
Let's just say, as Paul Hogan in The Crocodile Hunter, Crocodile Dundee said, it's for washing your backside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll have to be tasteful in how we have this conversation. Max, I'm looking at you. But this was probably the, I don't know, $80 bidet. Literally, it's a little thing that hooks in. It's very minimal, but it does shoot water. It has a cold water line that I attached pretty easily. But we didn't hook up the hot water because the hot water would involve cutting a hole in our cabinet. And we weren't ready for that full commitment yet. So, but Max, I know there's a lot of people these days that are having these things, and they range in price. You might have a whole separate bidet. You might have something a little nicer with like a blow dryer and all this. But Max, what was your beef with this thing?
Well, it's the people that think that they're conserving material by using a bidet, because it's like, aren't you just expending more water and then still using toilet paper in the process? So it's like, I'm thinking that you're not really saving yourself a lot of like effort. You're just wasting more, thinking that you're doing less.
Well, Max, I mean, I don't know that was the first. I think my wife was thinking of the health benefits.
I believe it is cleanliness that we are discussing here.
She described, I guess the best way, I when she was talking about this, the thing I would say, Max, is that if you take your truck four-wheeling, you got to kick the mud off. You got to kick the dirt off the mud flaps before you hose it off. Let's just put it that way. So you're not eliminating toilet paper entirely. You're just, lessening it. But I guess, Allan,
I guess see your four-wheeler.
Yeah, I guess there are probably health benefits to washing that area rather than just, dabbing at it, and I don't know.
Okay,
I'm treading lightly here.
Let's just get into the cholera outbreak in England.
Yeah.
Which prompted the words, if I weren't a prince, I'd be a plumber.
Yeah.
Of water cleanliness and something called E. coli are leaping to mind here. Of the better you can clean and sanitize and remove waste products, the better off you are. I don't care if it takes an extra cup of water, Max. It's worth it. Because that way, especially in food preparation, we have countlessly demonstrated by like coating a piece of chicken with UV dye and have somebody prepare a meal.
Right.
And then you go back with a black light and you have no idea that you touched that much stuff.
Oh, and those black lights will reveal all.
And you just kind of like, oh my gosh, this is horrifying. So a bidet for for a person that is so bent.
Yeah.
If you want to get one, there is no reason not to. I will agree with you. You are adding additional parts.
That was my whole concern. Because my role in this is about function, because I'm not really using this, if I'm being honest. And so my point of view is, okay, well, I just added another water line, and we know how much pressure are in these water lines into a device that probably costs $80 and has metal pipes flexible water lines connecting to basically plastic parts.
Yep.
To me, at some point, something's going to fail. And now I've introduced, when I looked at how many water connections there are, there's 4 or 5 places this could fail. And if it does, we've got a lot of water shooting out of that. That was my biggest.
Right.
So, and the way the water line runs, I would just say, folks, if you're tempted to get a bidet, think about everything, because like even the thing, we have a little waste can in there for just throwing paper, whatever, a little garbage can. Well, it just so happens that the water line sits right where that should go. Well, that's a factor. You don't want to be whacking that garbage can into the water line every time you empty it or something. And so I don't know. I would just say it probably makes a lot of sense to get maybe spend a little more on ones that have a solid connection, and maybe be ready to replace these every 3 or 4 years.
Well, you were talking about generational stuff earlier, and I'm gonna issue you a little bit of a prediction here that 30 years from now, more homes will have toilet bidets than won't.
Well, to me, it would make a lot of sense if you had a bidet option that's already built into the toilet. So if there's a failure point, it's happens inside
part of the construction.
Tank.
Yeah,
right. That would be my thing. And so, but did this start in like Europe, or I know Japan? They have a lot of
the
bidet
is a
out
French invention. Yes.
Okay.
It means like, I believe, pony.
Yes.
In French.
It sounds like a French word. Yeah.
It is. And it was of a family invention, because Dad had a medical condition, and Junior wanted Dad to not have to worry about it.
I got a question for you, Allan, though, because I've lived in different places. Now here we've said this many times. We have some of the best water, really, not only in the country, in the world. We have great water here. So getting washed with nice, fresh, clean water obviously sounds good, but I've lived in places where the water quality is not good. I mean, in San Diego, I never drank the water there. So I guess I wonder, to me, it could not only be rough on the plumbing of the parts, but is it even beneficial to wash with that kind of water? I don't know. Maybe it's not that horrible, but I guess I just wonder.
Well, you're already using that water. Okay, let's just.
I mean, we did shower in it and everything, so
you're already using that water. So the basic idea here, we got to go back to like the 17th century when this was invented.
Yeah,
and water back then was pretty terrible, but the idea is that you were cleaning.
Yeah.
The idea is cleanliness. The idea is really not perpetuating the spread of things like E. coli. And this is a common, all right, to wander into the medical side of this, your insides, your gut is full of what we like to call intestinal flora and fauna, and they need to be in balance.
Put a pin in that one, Allan, and that sounds pretty good. What a tease. So we're going to find out more about that. We're going to have some parting thoughts about the bidet, and then we're going to get to our great moments in building history, talking all about the Commercial Appeal building over on Union Avenue.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I thought I told you. I do the cutting around here.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com. and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And we've reached the point of the show, Allan, where it's pointless to recap everything because it's too much. We've said too much, and we don't want to keep beating a dead horse. But Allan, if people want to hear what happened, or if they want to hear any of our past shows, I bet you there's a process for that, right?
There is some easy processes for that. All they got to do is go to tooltalkradio.com, and they can follow along with, honestly, years of content. We are a featured podcast on both Spotify and YouTube, and I'm happy to report we are in like 19 different countries at this point. We're all over the place.
That's one of the few, that is one of the good points of the internet. I'll give them that. It can be worldwide, which is fun.
But I'm waiting on some emails from like New Zealand or something. I'm looking for some of these exotic. They're not exotic to you. You live there. But you're exotic to us because we're in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, when you pull a boa constrictor out of your mainline plumbing drain, we want to hear what sort of issues you have with that. So, I mean, we want to hear about the home improvement problems. I want to know about some of these home improvement problems in, like, Norway, where you get to 35 below zero, 4 months out of the year and stuff.
And you got a freeze line that's 4 feet below ground.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, hey, Allan, I guess we're going to move along in a minute, but we were talking about a bidet. Max, it seemed to me your only beef with this bidet was you just thought maybe people were going into this thinking they're saving material, but they're really not.
That's exactly my beef.
Is it a beef or is this just a comment? Because you don't.
Well,
it's not the hill you're going to die on, right?
I'm just a very utilitarian man, and I don't like the idea of having to. Well, it's also because I'm young and I'm not, let's just say, the target audience.
Yeah, probably not.
With regular usage of the bidet.
There's some people that swear by them. I got a customer, and they have a bidet that it probably costs them $1,500. It's electric. It's got the spray attachment. It's got a blow dryer. I think it even warms the toilet seat.
And
I mean,
Max,
this is the spa experience when you go in there.
Yeah, it is the spa experience. And Max, I'm going to correct you. You are the target audience.
Oh.
You are the target audience because this is all about health and cleanliness.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, and I know you're a utilitarian, and I'm going to tell you, as you get older, you're going to get over a lot of that. Because as you've already discovered, when you put something down the disposal or down the kitchen drain, X amount of water has got to go with it, or you are going to be trenching it out. This is the exact same thing, but this is all about cleanliness and disease control. That is what plumbing and sewerage is all about.
Yeah.
So if you have an illness strike your home that strikes your intestinal, got news for you. The cleaner you are coming out of there, the better off you're going to be.
I thought you were going to say that the reason I'm the target audience is because most of the time these toilets say to you, "Yokoso tore."
Oh, because they're...
Well, all right, the fact that you could have an entire conversation with your device is entirely up to you, dude.
I mean, he is fluent in Japanese.
I'm proud of him.
All right. Well, that's okay. I mean, it's probably worthy of future conversations. But if wherever you fall on the great bidet debate, it's a technology that's coming, and it's going to be more widespread. But let's move along, Max.
And now, great moments in building history.
Now, full disclosure, Max, you were the one that was interested in this space, and I'm curious as to why.
Well, it's simply because I'm driving down Union Avenue and I see a large, empty, abandoned building, and it's like, what is this? And why is this? And what is it like in its heyday? It's kind of me. It's kind of like, like looking at, it's like that song in Les Miserables, Empty Chairs and Empty Tables, where it's like recalling the glory days of this past structure.
Okay, well, folks, if you're outside of Memphis, we are talking about the Commercial Appeal building, which the Commercial Appeal is the name of our newspaper that's been around since like the 1800s. But this building was actually built in the 1930s, Allan. And honestly, I've driven by it a million times. I've never been in it, but you have. And I was
Many
interested in
times. Right.
the technology that goes into printing newspapers, which nobody reads anymore, but still,
I mean, I'm sure it's very useful for when you're cleaning up after your cats.
That's nice. So, I mean, people read newspapers, just not at the volume we did because our smartphones have basically replaced that. But
Well, technologies change, and for many, 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 many years of, the newspaper was the technology. So let's
Right.
go back to 1933, and we need to build a newspaper. All right, let's start with the size of the rolls of paper.
oh yeah, what are those like? I mean,
They
be
weigh
massive.
tons.
How do you make those?
All right, making those is an entirely different topic that takes a whole hour. But it is absolutely stunningly amazing.
And they smell too. Those paper factories are
They
not pleasant,
got a
man.
chemical scent to them,
Yeah.
let me promise you. You really want to get into something, explore the 3-story machine that makes toilet paper.
Yeah.
It is absolutely stunning, which actually ties into newspapers because it is a very similar process.
Okay.
But newspaper paper would be delivered on massive spools. And this would be then cut as the paper is printed. And then now you have got printing press trays. And you're going to press 100,000 papers. Now, you talk about deadlines. Let's say
within
that,
the course of what? How many hours you got to do this?
so usually they had about 6 to 8 hours to go to press it, bind it, get it to the loading docks, and get it out for delivery.
So now I know why J. Jonah Jameson was so tightly wound.
Oh yeah, I mean, imagine if that was your job.
Well, he
Yeah.
was insane. I mean,
Yeah.
because you had,
and you do that every day.
I mean,
7
it never
days
ends.
a week. It just-
And
yeah.
a piece of equipment cannot break down. So the minute you stop pressing, your maintenance crew swarms in to go over every piece of equipment, every inch, every day, because this is an utter and complete no fail has to happen.
So stop the presses is like the ultimate no word phrase in this industry.
Well, all right.
Think of how expensive stopping the presses would have been.
Well, think about it. There's a newspaper that came out that said Thomas Dewey won.
There you go.
Dewey wins. No, he didn't.
So somebody got the wrong. They got the wrong information.
Well, the newspaper had this cool idea that they were going to just call everybody, but the only
so that
people
way they
that
could
had
finish ahead of time.
the only people that had phones voted one way, and most of the people who didn't have phones voted the other. And Truman won, not Dewey.
Wait, so it's another example of you can't trust the polls kind
You
of thing?
cannot trust the polls.
Okay.
Okay, so it's 1933, and we are building a building where we can bring in gargantuan rolls of paper, and we have got to move out 30,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 papers in 6 to 8 hours.
So not only that, the loading docks were
Exactly.
important because you had to load all these papers into trucks that could be delivered.
But all this stuff, all these inks and papers and everything had to come in. Then they had to process all this, and all this had to go out. And here's the best part. This is all before we had computers.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
When we said you laid out the newspaper, somebody literally had to sit there and lay out the newspaper.
It's amazing any of this stuff ever happened when you think of how much work goes into.
And the speed and the skill that it took. So, the press man, quote unquote, the guy who's actually in charge of the press, you know what? Your life expectancy couldn't be long because you lived under constant stress.
That's what I keep wondering. It's like you go to get lunch and suddenly the conveyor belt explodes or something.
Right.
And yeah.
So when you look at how buildings like this were built, you start with the slab. This is not a 6-inch slab. This is a 3-foot slab.
Yeah, all
because
the weight.
You've got machinery. Just the conveyors alone weigh tons. So, Max, when you walked in this place and it was in production, you had the people areas upstairs. So that was bustling. People are literally running. If you can imagine No internet, no network. It is all being done by paper and people.
Yeah, there was a good movie with Michael Keaton, The Paper. It showed the stress levels, and they had computers back then. Imagine the 1930s. So, all right, we're going to find out what goes into designing a madhouse like a newspaper building when we come back here on Geek Tank. Sorry, wrong one. Tool Talk Radio. And then my notes in front of me.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Now, this is the forklift. You need a license to operate this machine. That means the upstairs office workers can't drive it. Quiz, Mike. Should you drive the forklift?
I can and I have.
No.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, today is the beginning of National Moth Week. It is karaoke day. And in our Great Moments in Building History, we're having a discussion. We're staying in Memphis. We're kind of looking at some Memphis structures lately. And we're looking at the Commercial Appeal Building, which I was surprised to learn was built in the 1930s. And we're talking about the technology that goes into printing presses and the nature of paper. And Max, you said we got a text that was more or less maybe correcting us on something.
Well, thank you, Jack, for the correction.
Okay.
Jack says paper mills have very little smell, but pulp mills have that pungent stench. And that comes from, let's just say, the organic extraction process.
Is that what it is? I wondered why. I mean, you drive by some paper mills and they smell awful. But I didn't know I thought all of them just the process of making paper with the chemicals and everything. So
I'm not going to argue with him. I've driven by a few pulp mills out in the wilds of Alabama, and you know when you're coming up on them.
Now,
that is for certain.
I associate pulp with a lower quality of whatever. Is that
well,
part
all
of it?
Paper comes from pulp.
Okay.
At some point, somehow, some way. So.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, Jack, for that clarification. I guess we wouldn't know if we drove by a non-smelling paper mill because you don't smell it. So I claim ignorance on that thing. So in a minute, we're going to get back to our discussion about the Commercial Appeal Building. Before we do, let's talk about our good buddy Jay Hill with Big M Roofing and Remodeling. I have to believe he's driven by there numerous times. The guy works this entire region. Jay Hill is one of the top-rated roofers in this entire region of the country. Well, the region that we live in. He is all about the exterior protection of your home, from roofing to siding to gutters to windows to all interior and exterior remodeling except kitchens and bathrooms. He wants no part of that. He sticks with what he knows. So. But he especially knows all about the roofing of your home. Jay is a GAF Master Elite Installer, which is no small thing. These GAF roofing systems are so well engineered that they offer lifetime transferable warranties. Jay is always 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau and Good Housekeeping. And what also sets Jay apart is the fact that he is a former insurance agent, which is hugely important because the outside of our homes especially can suffer damage. And sometimes you reach a point where you wonder, is the damage on my home covered by my homeowner's insurance? Well, that is a question that needs to be answered. And so Jay should be the first person you call. He's going to come over. It's a free consultation. He knows the protocols. He knows he'll be able to tell you and assess whether you have a claim. And if you do, he can help you navigate that whole process. And that can be an exciting thing where you're covered and you can get those repairs done. If you need financing too, Jay has 30 lenders at his disposal. And what we love especially about Jay is the energy and enthusiasm and optimism he brings to every project. And Jay's just a fun guy to talk to, and he wants you to call him directly, which we respect. So get in touch with Jay. You can call him at 901-484-5645 or go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. All right, Allan, well, we were talking about the Commercial Appeal Building. In fairness, I've never been in there. Max, you've never been in there. I've driven by a million times. But Alan, you're pretty familiar with the property.
I was in and out of there quite a few times, many years back in the past. And I got to tell you, when you think about moving the amount of weight in that building, so you've got tons of paper on the presses. The presses themselves weigh tons, huge pieces of equipment. And at full run, when these papers are flying back and forth and everything's working, and all you got to do is go watch like an old Spider-Man movie or something, and you'll see somebody in the press room. There is a wind in there. This stuff is moving so hard and so fast, it actually creates a breeze and a vibration.
I was going to say, you're almost building you're making a structure that has to withstand an earthquake on a daily basis.
Yes.
I mean, you have to build flexibility into that structure.
So, the question is, all right, what happens as technology in the world changes? Well, the commercial appeal, like most newspapers, is, changed with the times. They're no longer in the building. It's been empty for a number of years. However, very recently, because of the amount of just open space in it, I believe it has been picked up by Regions 1, the hospital.
Okay.
So they will begin.
Because it's a well-built building.
It is.
Perfectly
and
good.
It's got, but, when you walk in, these things are incredibly well-built, but it's open.
Yeah.
These ceilings and everything are supported in such a way that you have these huge, wide-open tracts of area, which, give you a lot of flexibility for future purposes.
I like the repurposing angle that we're going at these days. I mean, we've seen it with the concourse, and it's not just the concourse. I mean, the Wonder Bread Factory we were talking about last week. They didn't just rip the whole thing down. Like the structure itself is useful. Let's transform it, basically.
To be horribly a little bit tacky about it, it really kind of comes down to the economics of it.
Sure.
Because some of these buildings are so hard to tear down that it is actually cheaper to renovate them. Other buildings, and this is one of these things where people scratch their heads sometimes. Other buildings, they come along and they look at, and regardless of the age or the history of the building, pretty much the building's going to come down because it is past its structural life.
Right.
And it's just not economic at all to try to restore a utilitarian type building.
Homes are like that sometimes. You reach a point where it's like, okay, this home that was built 150 years ago, to get it up to modern code would be cost prohibitive. So sorry, it's got to go. So
by the time, or is it just worth it to strip it back to the studs and rebuild it with modern materials?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of economics that go into, well, why did and I see this a lot of times. You'll see it in the press. Well, why did they tear down Building A, which has been there for 150 years and blah, 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 and we kept Building B? Well, Building A had some form of fatal flaw in it. But when you look at some of your more industrially designed buildings, and again, the Commercial Appeal building, the Wonder Bread building, these were designed to handle tons of, and the people forget, they were designed to handle tons of people.
Well, I was about to, bingo. You just
have weight.
So here's the thing, Alan. Well, here's what I think's interesting is, okay, well, the Wonder Bread Factory or a bicycle factory, anything where they make stuff, more often than not, I worked at a sign company, so it's kind of like, okay, well, it's mostly not warehouse, but it's a shop.
Right.
And there might be a little office off to the side, but mostly this is designed to build things, and then you send these things somewhere else, and they go in. Well, in the case of the Commercial Appeal building, you have these printing presses. You have all this industry, you could say, but right above it, you have office space, lots of office space, and you have to make it functional for them too. And I'm just thinking, you got all this vibration and wind and noise and everything, and yet you also have to make it where you can balance the office. That doesn't sound like an easy challenge to me. I mean,
it isn't, which means you wind up with sometimes a less attractive but much more utilitarian building.
Yeah. That makes sense. So, but I mean, it also reminds me of some of these places we've talked about in the past. Like Japan's a good example. One of the oldest wooden structures. I want to say what was that? 1,400 years old, Max, or
something along those lines. And it was just a simple pagoda.
But it's built because they built flexibility into it because they deal with earthquakes and wind, and it literally sways to a degree.
The floors aren't connected to each other. They have like interlocking mechanisms to it.
Yeah. Is there
they have a central pole to it. So I wonder if there's a central pole to the commercial appeal building.
Well, I'm wondering. I mean,
no, there's not a central pole.
Well, how do they deal with the vibration and all the other not upsetting the office workers?
Well, let's just go with there's no law against overbuilding.
Okay.
So if, the structural demand was a 12-inch beam, but you were planning on exceeding that, you might have put 2 12-inch beams in.
Okay.
So there comes a point when you're looking at these buildings where when you start adding it up, it's one of these things that you got to look at what you're putting in it. And one of the factors a lot of people forget is it's not just the stuff. It's also the people and the height of the building. This building is not huge. It's only 4 stories.
Right.
But they wouldn't build anything higher because it would vibrate, shake. You couldn't control the 10th floor like you can the first 3.
Right. Yeah.
So, there were limitations, A, of the time, and B, of the utilitarian nature of the building.
So if you were the low man on the totem pole, you probably had your office space right above the the motorized the motor of the printing press and all the other stuff. So okay, we'll have a couple parting thoughts about this, but it's pretty interesting when you consider all of the technology that went into building that place. So all right, well, that's our great moment in building history, the Commercial Appeal Building. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
All you got to do is let us disassemble you. We're not banging rocks together here. We know how to put a man back together. So that's a complete reassembly. New vitals, spit shine on the old ones. Frankly, you ought to be paying us.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And happy karaoke day and happy National Moth Week. And we'll see how, Max, I'm wondering how you're going to celebrate because you like moths. You're actually,
more research.
Okay.
Or trying to find one to hold.
Okay, sounds good. So, and we just wrapped up our conversation about the Commercial Appeal Building, which is from our great moments in building history. And off the air, we were talking, expect maybe another conversation about a Memphis structure next week, right? I mean, why not? Well, let's, and these are buildings. It's fun to do a great moment in building history with buildings we're familiar with. Then next week, we're going to talk about structure you're highly familiar with.
Absolutely. I spent a lot of time in this building.
Okay. Well, this is going to be, let's see what I can do with this. I teased this at the top of the show, and this is actually an outgrowth of our sound discussion that we had, Allan. And believe me, I'm going to connect this to home improvement. Trust me. Okay. Well, so I'm working, Max. The other day, you were talking about our music we listen to while we're working and everything. And there's a band there's a band that I really love. They're from the 80s. They're called the Smiths. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of the Smiths. So, and they have a song, and my favorite Smith song is called "That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore." And it's Google it, folks. This is a song you have to listen to on headphones because there's a lot of layers and everything. Well, Allan, I've been listening to this song for 35 years. I mean, or whatever the math is. 1987, whenever that is. Okay. Well, here's the thing. I love this song. I've listened to it more times than I can count. And somehow, so yesterday I'm listening to this, and I had my headphones all the way up. And there was a part of the song that I had never heard before in all of this listening. There was this little choral voice that, like, what I thought was a synthesizer. When I listened closely, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. It's like a whole other layer of a song that's very subtle, but it's in there. And it's like, now I can't unhear it. Like I hear it every time. And so something I was it was like discovering something new with inside something I'm super familiar with, and now I love the song even more because I discovered that. Well, the same thing happened to me when I first got prescription glasses. My eyes started to go bad, and I was squinting, and I'm doing whatever. Then I would get these cheapo readers from the store, and then when I finally went to an eye doctor and I got prescription glasses, it was like there was all these things in my world that hadn't been there before, all this detail. And I'm wondering if we underutilize our homes in the same way. Like, in other words, do we put up things in our home, or do we neglect things in our home, details that would make our life much more enjoyable if we paid attention to those details, or if we didn't cover them up or something? I was just thinking of clutter, and I'm thinking of the way we decorate and bad lighting, and I don't know. Is this a stretch? It's just
No. I'm going to agree with you completely.
Okay.
Because I'm going to throw in the phrase familiarity breeds contempt.
Talk to me. So, yeah.
Well, it's what's familiar. Traditional thinking, legacy thinking.
Right there.
I've always bumped my toe on that table.
Yeah.
Always bumped that toe on the table. Always. 40 years I've been bumping that toe on the table. Get a new table, throw that baby out, or move it. The weirdest case in point I will give you for this is a facility I was working at. They were showing me their courtyard.
Yeah.
But you couldn't get to the courtyard because of these two tiny little walkways. And in the middle of it was and I'm not exaggerating, 10-foot around, 5-foot tall holly bush of carnivorous death.
Yeah.
You couldn't get around this thing. It was absolutely horrifying. And it'd been there for 45 years.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, I got a Sawzall in the truck.
Yeah.
If you guys want to get out here in the courtyard, give me about half an hour. I'll get you on the courtyard. And but it never occurred to anybody, get rid of the bush.
Here's another thing. Okay, we have a bookshelf in our living room. It's a built-in, and for years the bookshelf, if I'm being very honest, we had a few decorative things, and we have nice-looking books, but we didn't read half the books anymore. We did a serious purge, and we got rid of at least 2/3 of the books, and we kept the best ones that we're going to read, and we put in a few more decorative elements, and we put a light in a new part of the living room that actually shows off the bookcase. And now the bookcase is a focal point of the living room, and it looks nice. And it was basically an overlooked space that now is really cool. And we actually make a point of putting nice pieces of art there and showing it off. And it seems like the same kind of thing. So.
Well, as you and I have covered many, many times, your life changes every 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Your decor, your furniture, the ergonomic layout of your home should also change every 5 to 7 years. But we get used to the couch being right there.
Right.
That couch has been there for 25 years. Well, isn't it time for a new couch?
Yeah.
Is it time for, I got to get up. My leg falls asleep when I sit here too long. That should be like a screaming red flag.
Yeah.
Of nobody goes in that back room back there. Well, why? Because it's dark. Okay. Have you been to the lighting section at a big box store lately? Have you been to a lighting store lately? Have you been to a giant European furniture store lately?
Right.
There are so many options now. It's almost an embarrassment of riches.
And actually, sometimes lighting might mean down, making less light. Sometimes it's too bright in there. You put a couple of accent lights, and now you have a space that was harsh and kind of hard to be in. Now it's comfortable and cozy because you don't have to have 50 fluorescent bulbs above your head.
I've got a case in point of that where we changed out the lighting in a bathroom this week. And it was the standard 3-bulb fixture stuck to the wall, hanging there. And we ended up having to cut out the fixture mount and put in a wall socket because the new touch-sensitive light changing, color changing, backlit mirror.
Ah, yeah.
Replaced all of this, and you just literally walk in and you touch it, and the light comes on, and it's not harsh, and it's not glaring, and it's not in your eyes, and it's just ding, ding. You just touch it, and it even has a mirror defrost.
Right.
So you get out of the shower, you touch it, and it will clear the fog off the mirror.
Now, that's a cool feature. I didn't know that because I love that. We've talked about those backlit mirrors. I've seen them at hotels, and now people are putting them in their house.
There's now a new one for the bathroom that will even defog itself.
Defog?
Where does the fog go?
Back into the room.
Does it just heat it or something?
It just basically lightly warms the window or the glass, and it goes away.
Well, there you go. I mean, these are the kind of little details that can bring new life to your home, I think. So, and lighting seems to play a big role in that, I'm thinking. So.
Well, I think lighting plays a big role, and I think also just, you raised, how many kids did you have? 3, 4? You know. All right, well, you don't have 4 kids running rampant through the house anymore.
So, you
guys have been doing a lot of changes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at you as my poster child going, you went, okay, I don't have 9 people in my kitchen every day.
Yeah, all their friends over here eat all our food. So, yeah.
Well, and everybody goes, we only had 4 kids. And you go, trust me, you had 9.
Right.
You had 9 or 10.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were there all the time. But now the kitchen is different because it's under different use.
Yeah. No, I think there's something there. So, it was a cool observation. And anytime you can connect 80s goth music with home improvement, I'm all over it. So, all right, well, you guys, we got to get out of here. The show is over. So on behalf of my buddy, Allan Gilbreth, and our pal Max over there behind the glass, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening to Tool Talk Radio, and we'll see you next week.
Now go admire a moth.